to be agents for embassies of imperialist countries established in Burkina Faso. Some have been arrested, and we will continue to unmask.
In the political theater of Washington, where the stakes are high and the rhetoric can cut like a blade, there was an evening that no one expected. It wasn't about policy or grand speeches, but something much deeper. It started like any other Tuesday. Politicians posed for cameras, strategized and bickered, but then came the surprise. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young, respected leader of Burkina Faso, received an invitation that would change the course of not just a political debate, but global perception. The American Debate Forum, the biggest televised political talk show in the U.S., invited him to participate in a live discussion with one of the most controversial figures in American politics, Senator JD Vance from Ohio. On the surface, it was a chance for a foreign leader to weigh in on African policy. Behind closed doors, however, it was set up as a political trap. JD Vance had already taken to social media, hinting at exposing the truth about these so-called heroes from developing nations. Vance's tweet suggested the debate would be more about discrediting Traoré's leadership than about meaningful dialogue. The stage was set, but Ibrahim Traoré didn't hesitate. He accepted the invitation, saying, "Truth doesn't fear the microphone," and so the political world held its breath. As Traoré boarded the plane to Washington, the weight of what lay ahead was heavy. This was no ordinary debate. Backstage, JD Vance prepared for what he thought would be an easy takedown, clad in a sharp navy suit and full of smirks, confident that he had the upper hand. Meanwhile, Captain Traoré sat quietly, dressed in his military fatigues. There were no rehearsed speeches, no flashy suits, just him, his quiet resolve, and the truth. As the cameras began to roll, JD Vance started his attack, asking, "Captain, you lead a country most Americans couldn't find on a map. What qualifies you to speak about leadership on this stage?" The room erupted in laughter, but Traoré didn't flinch. Instead, he leaned forward, his calm demeanor piercing the air. Then, in a voice steady as thunder, he said, "In my country, people die for bread. In yours, they die of loneliness." A stunned silence fell over the studio. The air was thick, palpable. The audience didn't know how to react. Some sat frozen, some whispered in disbelief. But what had just been said wasn't an attack. It was a mirror. Traoré wasn't here to engage in political theater. He was here to tell the world something they didn't want to hear. The debate took a turn as social media exploded. The African soldier who silenced a U.S. senator became a viral hashtag. On the stage, Vance's confident smirk began to fade. He stuttered, trying to recover, but found no words that could undo the weight of Traoré's statement. It wasn't just a political point. It was a statement about life and death, about poverty and dignity. Traoré wasn't here to lecture. He wasn't here to impress anyone. He was speaking for the children in his country who didn't have shoes to wear, for the mothers who went without food to feed their families, for the villages that never saw the aid they were promised, but saw the consequences of Western intervention, interest-bearing loans, foreign-owned minerals, and drones flying over their skies without permission. In the midst of this, JD Vance tried again to deflect. "You say your people suffer for bread. That's unfortunate. But America helps you. Billions in aid every year." Traoré's response was calm, cutting through the noise. "You don't give us aid. You give us interest-bearing loans in exchange for silence. You steal our land and call it help." The room went silent again. Traoré didn't shout, didn't raise his voice. He simply told the truth, a truth that few were willing to hear. But then, the most emotional part of the evening came when Traoré pulled out a creased letter from his jacket. It was from his father, who had been killed when Traoré was just 15. The letter, yellowed from age and stained with memories, was a powerful reminder of the weight Traoré carried. He read aloud, "Son, if this finds you, remember our country may be poor, but never let your heart be led by fear. Fight only when others have no strength left to fight, and if they laugh at your struggle, let them. The day will come when even their pride will kneel to your truth." The audience was moved. JD Vance, once determined to dominate the debate, had nothing left to say. For the first time, the world saw him not as a politician, but as a man realizing the power of a truth he could not argue with. As the debate wound down, Traoré shared one last story about a little girl who walked 3 days to reach his base, carrying her baby brother in her arm. Her village had been burned and she asked for help. "Please take us, the men are coming," she pleaded. "We found their village later, empty and burned," Traoré said. "But that girl still lives today. She now teaches other girls how to write their names." Her first word was hope, and in that moment, the debate was over. It wasn't about policies, it wasn't about national pride. It was about humanity. It was about hope, dignity, and truth. The world's attention shifted. Social media exploded with praise for Captain Traoré's words. JD Vance, despite his polished speeches and rehearsed attacks, was left with nothing to say. The real power had shifted, and it wasn't in his hands anymore. That night, as the broadcast ended, the world didn't just hear a leader speak.